Okay, so I am in the middle of binding off the Ilana camisole. This has a stitch repeat of 2 purl, 2 knit, a purl, 2 knit. So it's a 7 stitch repeat in like a cable design. So I'd done some research on the best way to bind this off that's stretchy. This is a tank top, so you don't want it to be too tight on the bottom, but I also don't want too much flare out. So I was nervous to do Jenny's Super Stretchy Bind Off for that result. And I love the look of a tubular bind off, but I'm not sure how that would look in a not one-to-one rib pattern. So somebody else who had made this camisole on Ravelry had used the Hiya Grandma Stretchy Bind Off. She'd made a couple of these and she'd done this technique each time for her bind offs and was very happy with it, so I figured I'd give it a shot. I watched a couple videos on how to do this and read a couple discussions online because there's a step in it that seems to be unnecessary and just like slows you down while you're doing this. So the basics of this bind off is you're going to knit your purls and you're going to purl your knits. And as a result, you need to bring your working yarn from to the front if you're about to purl a knit, and then you need to bring your working yarn to the back if you're about to knit a purl. And pretty much every single video I've seen on how to do this has you, like, for instance, I have 2 purl stitches here and I need to knit them, and everybody's like, all right, you're gonna slip your working stitch over here to your left needle, then you're gonna move your yarn to the back like this, and then you're gonna slip your stitch back on your needle. And I'm just like, what? Why? Like, that just seems like a very unnecessary step to me. And as I've been working this, I mean, the only thing you really need to keep in mind for this is that you need to swap the position of your yarn behind the stitch here. So I think the reason people are saying, slip this stitch here and then move your yarn is so that people don't get confused and pass the yarn in between your needles, because that's going to change the way the yarn wraps around the stitch for this bind off. So I'm going to do this again and kind of show you the ergonomics of it. So I just pulled the yarn to the back here, but I'm going to undo that. So I'm going to slip it over, pull my yarn back to the front, slip my stitch back. But the same can be accomplished if you just literally pull your yarn to the back to knit. And it's a heckin' lot faster. So I'm going to just work a couple of these stitches. So I'm knitting some purls here right now, and I'm passing over to bind off, and I'm losing a stitch. Cool. So now I'm about to purl some knits. So I'm going, instead of passing this stitch to here, I'm just going to reach through, pull this under, and this is a lot easier to do while you're just working and maybe not explaining it, but purling some knits. I'm going to pass this stitch over, bind it off. I'm going to purl that knit. And pass it over to bind it off. Since my next stitch is a purl stitch and I need to knit it, I'm just going to reach around, reposition that yarn tail, bind it off. Since I have 2 knit stitches and I need to purl, I'm just gonna move that yarn back to the front. And there you go. It's not very fast on camera, but it's a lot faster to just pass this working yarn from front to back, literally like this, rather like this or like this, instead of passing a stitch from here to here, move the yarn, pass it back. This is way more ergonomic. It's the same result. Like I said, what you need to remember is that you're passing the yarn behind the stitch here, not in front of it between the needles.